Alrighty, happy Saturday night, everybody. I'm NBC Connecticut meteorologist Anthony Carpino. We got a big storm that we are going to be keeping a close eye on as we head through the day tomorrow. And that storm will be at its strongest Sunday night and into Monday morning. So we're going to be talking about what we can expect for impacts here in Connecticut, how much snowfall we could end up seeing. But unlike the last big storm that we got, there's going to be some very gusty winds to go along with this. So we're also going to be talking about blizzard-like conditions. We're having those very strong winds, creating very poor visibility, if not whiteout conditions. So we're going to walk you through what we can expect. Of course, as always, if you have any questions about the forecast, feel free to ask in the comment section. What we're going to do first, I'm going to walk through everything, and then we'll get to some of those questions that you may have about the forecast. So let's jump right into it, shall we? Let's see. We got a winter storm warning for all of northern Connecticut and a blizzard warning that will go into effect for the southern half of the state. That will start later on tomorrow afternoon and then continue even through portions of Monday. We look just off to our east, all of Rhode Island under that blizzard warning, and eastern half there of Massachusetts. You go out toward the Cape, they're really expecting blizzard conditions by the time we get to tomorrow night and into early sections of Monday morning. But I have a question for you. What is a blizzard? What defines a blizzard? Is it how much snow we get? Is it the wind speed? Is it visibility? Well, you might be thinking that it has to do with how much snow we get. Well, actually, it doesn't matter at all what we get for snowfall. We could get 2 inches of snow, but if these three criteria here are met, that would still be a blizzard. So we don't worry about how much snowfall we get when we're talking about a blizzard. We want to know more about the wind speed, blowing snow. Of course, if there's snow either coming down, that's going to help you, reduce that visibility. But the visibility itself has to be less than 1/4 of a mile consistently for 3 hours or more. So there's a lot that goes into what actually is a blizzard. And we haven't had a blizzard warning in Connecticut in several years. It's been a while, I believe since 2018. So it has been, I believe that's 8 years or so. It's been a while. So this is what we can expect going forward. So let's take a look at radar right now. We can see not too much happening here in southern New England. We will talk about a little bit later on in the stream. We have a few flurries and little rain showers out there tonight, but our attention actually turns a little bit further to the south. This is where we actually can start to see our storm develop. It doesn't look like much right now. In fact, it doesn't really look like much of anything, where we can see just, a little bit of rain starting to move through Kentucky. We have this boundary down in the southern half there of Georgia, stretching through portions of South Carolina. All of this will be getting its act together very soon, and it will just explode into this big nor'easter. And this is where we could see the winds, the heavy snowfall, and that reduced visibility. So here's what we can expect. Here are our headlines for the incoming blizzard tomorrow night and into Monday. We're talking about heavy snow, not only just the amount of snow, but the actual weight of the snow will be on the heavier side. If you remember last storm, it was cold. It was cold when it was snowing, and it was cold after it was snowing. So it was a light, fluffy snow. Here, it's a little bit different. We don't have that Arctic frigid air in place. So as we head through portions of the day tomorrow, we'll notice those temperatures just a little bit warmer, closer to 28 or even the lower 30s, and that's going to be more of a heavy, wet snow. We're also talking about very gusty winds. That's going to be winds potentially even gusting over 50 miles per hour along the Connecticut shoreline. I think 40 to 50 for the interior is definitely a possibility. You combine that heavy snow that could be weighing down some trees with that wind, potential for some power outages tomorrow night into Monday. And then, of course, like I mentioned before, that lower visibility. So we take you through future radar and satellite starting tomorrow afternoon at about midday. We have a few little light snow showers here and there throughout the afternoon, but we get into the more activity. We get to see the storm really blossom through tomorrow evening and then going through portions of tomorrow night. So we are going to see all of that really start to get going for us, and we'll notice more and more in the way of heavier snow as we head into Sunday night and then continuing on through portions of Monday morning. I think it's going to be mainly Monday morning, early Monday morning. This is probably close to 2 or 3 a.m. where we see the heaviest snowfall and the highest snowfall rates. That's where, the plows, the truck drivers, they really just can't keep up with those conditions, and we really start to see those roadways deteriorate. By the time we get to midday on Monday, we're actually going to notice those conditions start to improve. So we see that snow starting to break up a little bit there, and we finally start to clear things out as we move past 3 p.m. on Monday. And then by midnight into early Tuesday, everything is out of here. So snowfall rates, this is going to be really important moving through the day. So we'll notice the first half Sunday evening, starting around 6 to midnight, we'll notice the snow is coming down, but not relatively all that heavy. The heaviest, those heavy bands of snow will actually start to move in as we head into the overnight period. So this is 2 a.m. Monday. You can see those areas of pink there on the screen. That's where we could see snowfall rates perhaps even over 3 inches per hour. And that is a lot of snow coming down. And that's where we're going to have those problems out on the roadways. You can really see how that really just blossoms out as we head into early Monday morning. That's 5 a.m., continuing through 6 a.m. Monday. And then we start to see those snowfall rates taper down just a little bit by the time we get to midday. So snowfall totals across the state, 10 to 20 inches. And this may be hard to measure when you have all of that wind. And even though it's going to be more of a sticky snow, it can still get blown around a little bit. So it may be hard to measure, and there may be some drifts that you're going to have to deal with, especially when it comes down to shoveling. So that's how much snowfall we can expect going through portions of Sunday night, and then by the time it all wraps up on Monday. All right, let's get to see a whole bunch of comments here up on the side. Let's see if I can try to answer some of these questions here. Beating the blizzard of 93. I'll have to double check those snowfall amounts. When I was growing up, one of the storms that come to mind when we had 36 inches of snow. I grew up in Coventry. We had 36 inches of Coventry, and it was a huge band that stretched across the state, and we were able to make tunnels in the snow, all that kind of stuff. I believe that was, I want to say it was 2013. I might be wrong. It was 2011, 2013. Is the amount of snow, is the amount of the snow going to change? This is what I'm locked into. 10 to 20 inches. Now there have been signs that eastern areas of the state, and then especially for places like Rhode Island and then sections of eastern Mass, could have some spots that get close to maybe even 2 feet. I think that risk in Connecticut is overall on the lower side. So the range that we're going to stick with is 10 to 20 inches for the entire state there. Ryan has a question here. Are planning a trip to Mass masquerades at noon? Should we consider? I'm guessing yes. Well, if you have any plans to go out and about tomorrow, I would say even before 2 or 3 p.m., you should be in good shape. We will have some lighter snow showers on and off throughout the day. But if you're planning on coming back Sunday night, Ryan, then I would say you might want to reconsider that there. Any plans that would take you driving later on into the night, I would try to avoid that as much as possible. I know you're going up to Massachusetts there, but driving to the north or driving down further to the south, I would say just make sure you're not out there on the roadways later on Sunday night, because that's when things will really start to fall apart there. Could this be as bad as the 2013 February storm? So when we compare all these different storms, if you remember the last storm we got, there were much of us around the state got more than 15 or so inches of snow. So as far as how much snow, I think this is pretty similar to what we saw that last winter storm this season. The only difference is that snow is going to be a lot heavier. It's going to be weighed down a little bit more. No school Monday. Yeah, no, I don't think there will be school Monday, and it might even be tough for the kids to go back on Tuesday. We saw what happened with the last storm there. Some kids were out both Monday. I believe it was 2 days there. So in this case, maybe a Monday and Tuesday there. Will all of Connecticut eventually end up with a blizzard warning? That is a really good question, because when I'll show you guys this next graphic here, talking about our wind speeds. I think whenever we get the wind speeds, anytime the wind is up when it's snowing out, it's going to create that blowing snow. But what we'll have to keep an eye on is going to be that visibility. That visibility has to remain on the lower side. So if the Weather Service has more confidence that the interior of Connecticut can reach all of those criteria at the same time, then I think there is a chance that they might expand that further to the north. But honestly, if you're in northern Connecticut, if you're at the Connecticut shoreline, you guys should be treating it the same. It can create very dangerous conditions on the roadway. It doesn't matter if it's gusting to only 30 miles per hour inland, but it's gusting to 50 at the shore. That will create, conditions that you don't want to be driving in, depending on where you are in the state. Another question, and what time are we thinking the snow starts? So we'll likely see that snow start as we get closer to about 6 p.m. Now we'll see periods of light on and off snow showers throughout the day on Sunday, but those won't be all that impactful. We're going to notice the big impacts really start as we get closer to Sunday evening. So great question there. Another question. Okay, I think I kind of answered both of those for you there. DQ defines a blizzard as ice cream mixed in with candy, so I'm going with that. I am going with that too, Jason. Absolutely. Now the big question is, what is your favorite type of blizzard? I got to go with the Reese's myself. Let's see, any other questions here? Will the showers in the morning, early afternoon make the roads slick at all? Amber, I'm really thinking that the snow showers, and I'll get to this in a second here, for the first part of Sunday, I don't think they're going to be all that impactful. Of course, anytime you start to see the roads get, coated up a little bit, you're going to want to make sure you're slowing down. But I'm thinking the biggest impacts will be later on into the evening on Sunday, and then, of course, going through Sunday night. On top of Talcott Mountain, that will be an interesting place. I'm not sure. I might have came in here at a different point when you asked some questions. I'll see if I can find that in just a second here. Ryan asks, will it melt fast once the storm is done? So that's the good news. Unlike the last storm we got, we are locked in that ice box for a month. By the end of the 10-day forecast, we're right back to the 40s. So there will be some melting sooner rather than later, and a lot sooner than what we saw the last time. Nick, I hope I answered this question for you already. So for northern Connecticut, we'll have to see if the Weather Service has more confidence to have, again, all of those criteria at the same time, both the poor visibility for 3 hours or more, the blowing snow, and then you want to just, of course, that wind speed. I think we'll get there with the wind speed, but can we get the other two aligned at the same time? Sophia, timing, please. Yep. So going through tomorrow morning, waking up tomorrow morning, guys, a few light on and off snow showers, not a big deal for us there. If you have a few last minute things to do, I think you'll be in good shape for that. But I would try to get your plans wrapped up by the early afternoon and then just be home and relax as we go through Sunday night. We'll see the snow really start to pick up around 6 p.m. and then just continue to ramp up going through that overnight period. And then even all the way through Monday morning, you're not going to want to be on the roads Monday morning. We'll see the snow eventually taper off by midday. It's tapering off midday on Monday. And then I think it's mainly out of here by the afternoon, by 2 or 3 p.m., Sophia. What about Southbury? Same situation for you guys, Frank. Tim wants to know, what about schools on Tuesday? If it's anything like what we had to deal with from the last storm, there was a lot of districts that were closed for 2 days there. So, excuse me, it might be a repeat of that. We might have 2 days, 2 snow days there, both Monday and Tuesday. Any severe ice? I think I finally got to your question here. No, we don't have to worry about ice in this situation. So that is definitely some good news. This is going to be cold from the ground all the way up to the cloud layer. So when we were talking about ice and, the last couple of storms, it was a little bit on the messier side because we had a lot of warm air that was kind of right through the middle of the atmosphere. We're not going to have it in this case. It will be warmer, though, than the last storm. So the snow that falls will be a heavy, wet snow. So this is going to be the type of snow that you want to snow blow versus trying to shovel, especially if you get 20 inches of it. So kind of keep that in mind. I think I fixed my snow blower. We're going to find out. I'm going to give it another try tomorrow and see what we do. If not, it will be a lot of shoveling for sure. Any chance this storm tapers down? It's funny, Stefan, when we were looking at this storm at the beginning of the week, there was one model that really showed this storm. Everything else was against it. And then in the span of just a couple days, everything else just got right on board. It has stayed very consistent. I didn't make any changes from when Alexis was in earlier this morning, from Steve the night before. Everything has kind of stayed as is. So I don't believe we're going to be making any changes with this. So we'll likely end up sticking with that 10 to 20 inches. So another winter storm, but the good news is we'll warm up after this is over. So this will try to melt a little bit more. Bradley Airport closed on Tuesday. Marie, I'm not sure about that. Always check their website, and I know we'll definitely have updates on any of the trains as well as the airports. I did see a couple folks ask about some of the trains on there as well, trying to get to the city or vice versa. So just make sure you're always keeping an eye on those schedules because things change pretty quickly. James says thunder snow. There was an update from the Storm Prediction Center. I'm not going to be able to pull it up for you guys here, but they did show, just kind of outline the coast of southern New England with that potential for some thunderstorm activity. And I mean, you just look at future radar. Let me pull this up for you guys, and just how wound up this thing is, how it just really explodes. And it might be a possibility. I'm not going to rule it out. I mean, just look at how compact that is. Maybe some convection, going on. That's not going to let me use my clicker. Here it is. So that doesn't help me now. Let me try to get back. So you can see all the areas of red and yellow. I can't actually point it out to you guys on here. But there definitely could be some convection to go along with this. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for some thunder snow there for those that are a fan. Is there a chance for heavy snowband to set up somewhere in Connecticut, which could outperform the predicted totals? Jim, yeah. So I've been going back and forth. We've all been going back and forth, the whole team, talking with Ryan. We've been all chatting this afternoon. That potential for seeing one of those heavy snow bands to kind of come right in. I think there is a chance that we could have a couple towns, maybe a little bit more than 20 inches. Is that going to be a widespread issue for many folks across the state? I don't believe so, but there could be a couple of towns that see maybe a little bit more than 20 inches. But the confidence on that is just a little bit still on the lower side. So we've kept it at that 10 to 20. But one of the things about those bands that just makes this so difficult is you have an idea that they're going to be forming, but the exact location is very, very hard to pinpoint there for us. So what we'll look at as we go through the day tomorrow, we're going to be pointing out all of those snow bands, and we're going to be having a kind of a nowcasting, if you will, of where they're going and who can end up seeing some of the heaviest snow there. I don't think it's out of the question for some to see a little bit more than 20, but again, I don't believe it's going to be a a widespread, effect for a lot of folks to see more than 20 inches of snow there. Courtney says hello. Hello, Courtney. Thanks for joining the stream. Aaron wants to know, how will driving be Monday morning? Essential workers. So Monday morning is going to be very, very tough. So for those that have to go out, we are expecting the heaviest of that snow between 3 a.m. Monday and likely through, if not 9 a.m., maybe even a little bit later. So there's going to be a good 6-hour plus period of time where the snow is going to be coming down at a very, very good clip and could be coming down strong enough where the plows just cannot keep up with it. So traveling on Monday morning, I think is going to be very, very difficult. You just combine the fact that you're already kind of driving through snow on the ground, but now you have the wind to deal with. That's moving the car around a little bit. It's blowing the snow around too. I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge there. So if you're an essential worker and you have to be out there, just give yourself a lot of time as you have to go out on the roadways there. I know not working from home isn't an option for everyone. So just use a lot of caution if you have to go out on the roadways. But if you can't help it, I would stay, indoors again if you can there. Jenna says, will there be the chance of widespread power outages? I don't know if I'm going to use the word widespread. One second, as I take a sip of water here. I don't know if I would use the word widespread, but definitely scattered power outages. This is going to be especially for those folks that see that combination of strong gusty winds and all that heavy wet snow. I think we're all going to see some heavy wet snow. But for those that see the strongest of those gusts right now, that's looking like the shoreline, 50, maybe up to 55 miles per hour. I think most of the state is in between that 40 to 50 mile per hour range. If you have all those evergreens that just, collect all the snow on them, those branches get weighed down, they could break and then fall on the lines there. So scattered power outages is what I'm going with right now. But I would just have, a plan in place for if you end up losing power. Do you have a generator? Do you have gas for the generator? All of those steps. I live in Bristol. What time is it going to start snowing tomorrow? If it'll be okay to go to church in the morning. I think church plans in the morning. I think you guys are going to be okay there. Let me pull up future radar for tonight and then going into the morning. Let's start with what we're seeing out there right now. So we did have just a few little snow showers. You can see those already starting to pop up in eastern Connecticut. We'll pause the radar here at the latest frame. And you can see, places like Windham going into Willimantic, potentially Stafford, Ashford, Mansfield, and then stretching down little pockets of some snow showers, or even maybe just some flurries. Salem, Haddam, maybe closer to Old Saybrook. And then depending on your temperature, maybe it looks like a few lighter rain showers or some sprinkles going on along the Connecticut shoreline. These are what we're going to be dealing with as we head into tonight. You can see Future Radar actually does a pretty good job of picking up on some of those snow showers that we're seeing. So that's what we're going to be dealing with for tomorrow morning into the early afternoon. So the biggest impacts out on the roadways is going to be until we get into the afternoon. So there's about 3:30. We can see a few more snow showers starting to pop up. And then by the time we get to 6:30, we're starting to talk about maybe some more moderate snow, southern Connecticut first, and then you can see how that kind of lifts its way further to the north there. So I hope I answered your question there. One second, guys. Let's see. Other questions. Sandra, I hope we're done. I hope we're all done with the snow after this. I think most folks are starting to agree with you on that one. There's some folks that want to hang on to the snow a little bit. I'm still right on the edge. When we start getting more upper 40s, lower 50s, then I start to kind of, favor more of that spring weather a little bit. So I'm still in winter mode for now. But we are expected to warm up a little bit, Sandra. So if you're hoping for some melting, you'll like the end of next week. Although Quentin does say, storm Friday, February 27th. So maybe we'll have to keep an eye. We'll talk about the end of the 10-day in just a second there. Will Groton going to get more than 20 inches? Again, just going to keep it with that 10 to 20 inch range. We will keep an eye on some of those snow bands that will kind of swing their way up into Connecticut. That's where we can end up seeing some of those spots that maybe could get a little bit more than 20 inches, but I'm not going to kind of like pinpoint places on the map just because we don't know. We don't know where they're going to form just yet. Let's see here. What time will the snow start in Northeast Connecticut, Danielson, and when will the heaviest and how much? So everyone's still 10 to 20 inches. For Northeastern Connecticut, you guys are going to start a little bit later. Even looking at this particular model, that would be closer to about 7 or even 8 o'clock with that starting to roll in there. But this is going to be some heavy snow for everyone across the state. So yeah, for Danielson there, closer to perhaps 7 or 7:30. Hearing 18 to 24, locally 30, with the track coming closer. I was seeing some of those higher values for places in Rhode Island as well as Eastern Mass and getting out toward the Cape. And there was a lot of model play with, getting closer to 30 inches, sections down in Jersey. But as far as Connecticut goes, still pretty confident, 10 to 20 inches across the state. At the same time, I have been keeping an eye on some of the forecast models that are just coming out right now. And I'm just trying to see if there's any big differences from earlier this afternoon. So our evening run just came out. I'm going to compare this to what we saw earlier this afternoon, and I'm kind of flipping back and forth here. And there really isn't that much of a change. This one particular model that I'm looking at right now, I know you guys can't see it, but it actually, and models do this all the time, and we definitely know this, but it's actually started to pivot back, and we're just going to see that kind of continue back and forth with those, continuous runs there. So still not really confident in 18 to 24 here locally, or even 30 inches, but we'll have to keep an eye on some of those snow bands that could really pack a punch for sure. Unionville, just west of Farmington, and Farmington is in between Unionville and Avon. Little geography lesson there. I must have missed kind of going back and forth here. Kelly wants to know, what will the winds be? Winds 40 to 50 for gusts there. Interior Connecticut, likely closer to 50 along the Connecticut shoreline. If not, just a little bit higher than 50, I think, is a possibility there. Rosa wants to know, Monday morning driving at 5 a.m. That is going to be very, very tricky, mainly because of the wind blowing around all of that snow. By 5 a.m., we already have a good bit of snow on the ground. And with the heaviest of that snow expected during that time frame, the crews are going to have a hard time, keeping up with all of that snow. So not looking good to travel at 5 a.m. on Monday morning. Michelle, New Milford totals 10 to 20 inches for you guys as well. And that is we're gonna hang on to that for the entire state there too. Billy wants to know, is there any pattern? More storms to follow this one, maybe a nice break after the last one in January. The one thing that I've noticed is those temperatures. It doesn't look like anything frigid anytime soon. So even if we get another storm, we're going to have some melting to go along with that. I'll get to the 10-day here in just a second as we come up on a half hour. And there's still over 800 folks watching along. So thanks so much, guys. Trying to get to all your questions here too. Ashley wants to know Clinton right along the shoreline there. So again, snow total wise, we're going to keep it the same there for you guys. Excuse me. But we will watch the wind. And I think, the bigger impacts for you guys, Ashley, of course, the snow, the heavy, wet snow, trying to move all that around, driving in it, not a good idea. But the winds combined with the snow can end up leading to those scattered power outages. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on as we go through tomorrow night and into Monday morning. So is this truly going to be not melting for a week? We'll get to the melting. We'll get to the melting even as we head through, Tuesday and then onward as we start to warm up into the 40s there. Let's jump, since we've been talking about kind of the end of the 10-day there a little bit. Let's jump right into the 10-day forecast. So we got the big storm as we head into tomorrow evening, tomorrow night, and then going into Monday. So snow, wind, all of that to go around for portions of Monday there. Those temperatures are near freezing both Monday and Tuesday. But then take a look at near the end of that 10-day forecast, at least the end of next week, where we are expecting those temperatures to warm up a good bit, at least above freezing there. So 37 Wednesday, 43 going through Thursday, upper 30s Friday, and then we hang on to the 40s moving through next weekend. Oops. That wasn't supposed to get clicked on. Well, there you go. Happy New Year, everyone. And apparently we haven't updated that graphic since the previous New Year. So little hidden gem in the 10-day forecast there. Shoreline, very similar to that. Warming up into the 40s by the end of next week as well. Let's see. Hearing more snow for next week. Winter here to stay. We'll keep an eye on Thursday there, but if those temperatures remain into the 40s, it's just going to be kind of all rain for us. Quick snow update there for West Hartford. 10 to 20 inches for you guys as well. Let's see. What are the chances of a state of emergency or a shutdown of the state? I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up closing some offices on Monday just because of how dangerous it will be out on the roadways there. But just make sure you're keeping an eye. Head to our website if you have the NBC Connecticut app for all of those news updates. They're going to have them there, and they're going to keep you guys posted there. Zachary wants to know, should we be worried about power outages? So I say we do have that potential for some scattered power outages as we head into Sunday night into Monday morning, especially for folks along the shoreline, just because those winds are going to be gusting potentially over 50 miles per hour. So that will cause some problems there. So I would just have that plan kind of in the back of your head there, have that plan ready to go. Let's see. I guess we're making up for the last 5 years. This winter has been pretty impressive. Our snowfall totals right now, I don't think are anything too crazy for us. They're not breaking any records, but it has just been, we haven't had a good old-fashioned winter like this in some time. So me personally, I love to see a good winter. But that's just me. That's not everybody. Widespread power outages, Paul has that question. I think scattered power outages. I don't think this is going to be, the entire state in the dark, nothing like that. But if you're in a spot where if you get a good little windstorm on a regular day and the lights flicker on you, then you might be losing power Sunday night and into Monday with that added weight of that snow on some of the trees there. So you know where you are. If you're one of those spots where you always have the generator ready to go, I would make sure that it has its gas and it's functioning and it's ready. And of course, I always want to say this, but of course, you never put the generator in your garage. You never, put it inside or anything like that. Generator outside, away from your house. a good distance away from your house there, and you'll be all set. Let's see. Lori wants to know expectations for Groton. Gusty winds there for sure. Talking about those winds anywhere from 50 to even maybe even closer to 55 miles per hour, right along the immediate shoreline, and then 40 to 50 for interior. Should I not go to work at retail store on Monday? I guess it depends on what time your shift is. If you have a shift on Monday that starts after midday, I think you're going to be fine. Sorry, guys, there's been something in my throat. If you have to go to work Monday morning, that might be a different story. I don't think you should be on the roads anywhere from after midnight, for sure after midnight, but even before that, and maybe all the way through 8 or 9 a.m., mainly because when that snow is coming down very, very strong. I showed you guys those snowfall rates before. Let me go back to those. When the snow is coming down, 2, 3, maybe 3+ inches per hour, the crews just can't keep up with that. You can have a lot of crews out there and they wouldn't be able to keep up with that. So we're expecting the heaviest of that snow, and watch for the pink. There's a big band of pink there. So as we get closer to Monday morning there, 3 to 6 and maybe even 8 a.m., you see those bands of very heavy snowfall. So as those bands work their way through the state, that's where we could really start to pile things up a little bit more. I know we had some other folks kind of asking. I see a question here asking about Torrington. Beth has a question from Meriden. I will say, and just to give you guys a little bit more insight on this map here, I think for folks that are in northwestern Connecticut, there is a greater chance of being on the lower end of that spectrum. And if you're in southeastern or just kind of eastern areas of the state, you have a greater chance at being on the higher end of that spectrum. But I think in general, a forecast of 10 to 20 inches is pretty solid there for the entire state. Those snow bands that develop tomorrow, those are going to be what determines who ends up seeing the most of that snow, whether that's the shoreline or northern Connecticut. So that's why we have that 10 to 20 inch across the state there. Billy wants to know, will the temperature stay above freezing when the storm passes? Yeah, we're going to start to warm up a little bit more. It'll still be a little chilly on Tuesday, but by the time we get to the end of the week, we're right back into the 40s. Rosa, going back to your question there, but the highways for the essential workers tomorrow morning, I even think the highways with, the snowfall rates that we just talked about, I think the highways there could end up still being covered. So I think if you're going to be out on the roads early Monday morning, you're really going to need to budget a lot of extra time and make sure you're driving very slow if you have to be out there on the roads. Will the snow be more powdery in Harmington, Torrington area? I think everyone, Karen, ends up seeing a heavy wet snow from this. I don't believe there's going to be that much of a swing in our temperatures here, statewide. And to really get that fluffy snow like we saw last time, our temperatures last time, it was crazy. They were in the teens, which is just wild. And to get that much snow from that being that cold before. So the last storm that was big, that was wild there. For this one, our temperatures are going to be into the mid to upper 20s, let's call it, to lower 30s. So this will be a heavier, a wetter type snow for the entire state there. Everyone keeps talking about the shoreline when it comes to power outage predictions. What about further towards the Ansonia, Seymour area? Steve, yes, so good question there. I think what we're going to notice, those winds, the winds along the immediate shoreline, I think that's where we're going to have the strongest winds. Let's go back to that graphic. So I think we'll end up seeing the strongest winds there right along the immediate shore. This particular model doesn't quite show it, at least where I stopped it. But but we'll likely see those winds 50, maybe a little bit more than that along the immediate shore. And then as you go a little bit further inland, well, those wind speeds slightly decrease. But I think it's more of a situation where if you're in a more, wooded environment, if you get any kind of storm in the summertime that has a little bit of wind to it and you lose power, if you're in one of those locations, I would be prepared to have the lights flicker on you a little bit there for sure. What part of Connecticut is going to get the most snow? So again, going back to those snow bands, that's what we're going to really keep an eye on. So still going with 10 to 20 inches there across the state. Is it okay to open the pool tomorrow? Figure this snow can top it off. We're almost there. Give it a little bit more time, and we're gonna get there eventually. I was actually just thinking though, so I have an above ground pool. I was thinking of shoveling off the part of the metal frame kind of decking that goes around it and getting all that snow off of it before all this other heavy wet snow comes down. So kind of like, I was just thinking about that the other day there. Highest snow totals in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and to the Cape west of Connecticut. Not necessarily west of Connecticut. I think more southwest of Connecticut there. Places like Jersey, maybe even sections of Long Island, and then kind of going out into, like I mentioned before, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Eastern Mass there. Think of that track. We have the track of the storm that moves through, and all the snow is going to kind of hug that track a little bit more. So we play this guy out again. And you can kind of just see there, down through the Mid-Atlantic, up through New York City. You can see, and they even have blizzard warnings all the way down through portions of Delaware as well. You can see how all that snow just continues, and then even getting into sections of Maine, and then moving further off to the east there. Let's see. Rainy, are we talking about talking heavy wet snow or light and fluffy? Unfortunately, this time around, it is going to be that heavy wet snow for us because those temperatures are a little bit warmer. You get a cold, snowy day. It's a light, fluffy snow. When you get a slightly milder in the terms of snow, upper 20s, lower 30s, that's where that snow really sticks together. That's the good snowball making snow, but that is the bad snow to shovel. So if you have to shovel, maybe try to go out there in increments so you're not shoveling all of that snow at one time. So kind of just keep that in mind there. Chances for travel bans like the January storm. That's a really good question. I'm interested to see if they end up doing like another tractor trailer ban or something like that. I would lean more on the side of yes, honestly, because even the last storm we got, the story there wasn't really about the wind. It was just the amount of snow. Now we're talking about winds gusting over 40 miles per hour for all of Connecticut, and some spots getting more than that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did a tractor trailer ban. I don't think they'll quite go as far as a full shutdown, but we'll have to see on that. Again, not the expert with the state there on that on the roads and that kind of thing. But I'm sure Andrew Rowan will get more on transportation and travel for you guys. Do you see anything for next weekend? Next weekend, right now, we are going dry. We are going warmer, and that will give us a chance to melt a little bit of the snow that's out there. Let's see. Sarah says, I don't want to do this anymore, Grandpa. Well, that's too bad. Hopefully everyone else gets that reference there. Driving to New Jersey tomorrow, getting there just past Newark by 3 p.m., assuming I should be okay. Hoping it's not going to start heavy down there. So leaving here and getting down there by 3, I think you're going to be fine. This isn't the best map here. I think you me see this. Let me see if I can get a better map. It looks like, that storm is going to really start to fire up tomorrow morning, but it doesn't quite get here until the afternoon. But so you might end up running into some of that snow going down to Jersey. But for Connecticut wise, you should be in good shape there. But it might be a little bit more of a pain, John, to drive further down to the south and dealing with those conditions in the mid-Atlantic there. So this storm probably won't fizzle out between now and going through tomorrow afternoon. Everything just really came together there at the end. I know it was kind of a bit of a turn, but it has been very consistent. So really, I see some other response to the "I'm tired of this, Grandpa," so it's making me laugh a little bit. But I won't put those on the screen. Kevin, we'll keep an eye on that tractor trailer ban. I'll go downstairs after this stream is done, and I'll ask some of the folks downstairs if they've heard anything yet. Just make sure you have our app. We'll have all the latest news on any of those kind of closures there, and also on the website, so you can check that out. Flight leaving out of BDL to Charlotte at 5:30. I think you should be okay. I would say if your flight is at 9 p.m. tomorrow, I think it would be more of a problem for you, but I think you should be able to get out still by 5:30. We'll probably start to see things falling apart a little bit or getting there. But I think if your flight is leaving at 5:30, I think you should still be okay. Let's see any other questions here. Mary wants to know, what are the chances of losing power in Hartford County? Not quite as high, I think, as the Connecticut shoreline, mainly just because of those winds. So winds slightly lower in the interior there, but I don't want to say zero. Eversource is already notifying us. Beth, yep, I got the message, text message on my phone earlier today as well. And Tony wants to know, is this bombogenesis? I haven't looked specifically at the millibars for this storm, but I want to say yes, because I mean, just by looking at what this does from now, even going through 12-ish hours from now, it goes from essentially nothing, firing up, and then really just right there, Monday, late Sunday night into Monday morning, just really gets it back together there. So I would say yes, but I haven't actually looked at the specific numbers for, how those levels will drop in that 24-hour period there. But great question. Yeah, I feel like I'm starting to get some repeat questions here. Billy has another question. Will winds let up from time to time, or do they keep just gusting for hours on end? And when will the wind subside? Monday afternoon. So gusts, that potential for gusts 40 to 50 miles per hour throughout, especially the afternoon there, as we kind of go through the day, and then more so into that overnight period there. Will you step outside and it will just be constantly blowing 50 miles per hour the entire night? No, gusts. So, waves of wind there. But even sustained winds could be over 20 or so miles per hour. So either way, breezy, and that potential for power outages there. Let's see. Adam doesn't think the power outages are going to be a big deal in Waterbury. You guys have been through some of the blizzards before. Being in the city too, that also helps versus some of the more rural locations. I remember the ice storm. I believe it was the ice storm. I might be wrong. I think it was actually the October snowstorm where my cousins had to come down from Stafford and stay with us for over a week because they were out of power. So those rural locations, not always, but usually end up seeing, more of those outages just because there's more trees around. Nick, I missed your question, but I see this one now. 1:30 on Monday because of work. Walmart Old Saybrook. I think by Monday afternoon, I think you should be good to go there, Nick. For Avon, Farmington area tomorrow, that is going to be, for you guys as far as impacts go, that is going to be especially more noticeable as we move past 6 o'clock at night. Still expecting 6 to 10 for you guys there, and gusts between 40 and 50 miles per hour. Let's see here. How's March 1st looking? It looks a lot better than, let me see, make sure I'm talking about the right date here. Yeah, looking a lot better than what we're expecting tomorrow or Monday, that's for sure. Let's see. Any other questions here? Adam asks, are we getting 50 inches of snow? No, we're not getting anywhere near 50 inches of snow. That might be more excessive. I think I'm capping the limit at 30. Let's just call it 30. Do you have any school snow day predictions? So if schools are in session on Monday, I think that's just crazy. I don't think that's happening. I think there's a strong possibility on Tuesday that we'll have a lot of closures there. Just depends on how fast they can move all that snow and really clean up those roadways. But we will see that snow start to taper off around midday Monday. So crews are going to have the second half of Monday through Monday night and by Tuesday morning. So if not closures Tuesday, maybe just some delays by Tuesday morning. It usually depends on the district there, how they end up making kind of those calls there. Is there going to, are we going to have thunder snow? Mike wants to know. I think there is that chance that there could be a rumble of thunder with those heavier bands that are off the coast. But if that kind of works its way in, could those kind of swing around? I'm not ruling out. I just don't think it's going to be likely for a lot of folks to see for tomorrow and into Monday there. For South Perry, what time does it start tomorrow? Let's back up the clock here and let's take a closer look at home for us. So Southbury for you guys, again, just remember we are going to have that chance for some on and off light snow showers throughout the day. But as far as the impactful snow goes, as we move past, I would say, yeah, like I've mentioned before, after 3 p.m., we start to notice things increasing a little bit there. So there you go for like Southbury. There it is right around 4:30. It starts, at least with this particular model. If you're at the shoreline, so let's call it the 95 quarter, you could even see some snow showers there 3 or 4 o'clock, and then it kind of slides its way further to the north. Now it's 6 p.m. We're starting to see moderate snow, that dark shading of blue. We see that now along 95. It stretches a little bit further to the north. And notice how those almost look like, little blobs. They're kind of, moving around. They're fading in and out. Those are those snow bands that are trying to work its way further to the north there. So that's what we're going to keep an eye on. See, like that has that almost little blob look kind of to it. So there you go. You see it there. And then it's just a wave right there, actually. Let me see if I can add a pause. Let me try to get my pointer out here. Perfect. So take a look at these guys. So here you go. Groton stretching down. There's one band. You can see Killingly to Willimantic, all the way down through, I believe that's either Madison or Guilford, that area. And then you have another band on top of it. So kind of showing that potential. And this isn't exact by any means, but this kind of just gets you in that mindset of having those snow bands kind of form throughout the day. Then this is Monday morning. This is 3 a.m. Monday, and the whole state is dealing with very heavy snow coming down, and it starts to taper off by 9, 10 a.m. By midday, just a few snow bands left over, and then moving through the afternoon, we see just a few snow showers remaining, and then everything is done by 9 or 10 p.m. We actually start to clear out those skies, And then we're in for much better weather as we go through the day on Tuesday. Still chilly on Tuesday, but at least the snow will finally stop. Let's see. So hopefully I answered your question here, Stefan, about when this heavy snow will start in Bridgeport. Can you share the temps during this? They're going to play a huge role. Yeah, absolutely. Let's pull in. I have a different set of graphics I can grab. Give me 1 second. But I will just tell you guys that the temperatures on this is going to be a lot warmer than what we saw with the last storm. So the last storm, remember, our temperatures were in the teens. It was a very dry, fluffy, powdery snow. This is a wet, heavy snow through and through for most of the state. So here we go, early Sunday morning. We have a few little snow showers there. Take a look at those temperatures. Upper 20s in northwestern Connecticut to near 30. But we look at the rest of the state into the mid 30s. And then as that snow starts to move in the evening, and as that sun goes down, look how those temperatures are dropping back down to near freezing. So our temps are into the 20s and 30s. That is a heavy, wet snow that just continues Monday and into Monday morning and into Monday afternoon. And there are those temperatures Monday evening cooling right off back down into the 20s. So it will stay a little chilly Monday night into Tuesday afternoon, but then after that, we start to warm things up. Neil, so hopefully I answered your question there with those temperatures. Let's see any other questions here. So we got about 500 folks watching. So guys, thanks so much. Let's see. I feel like Tuesday school cancellations are very likely. If it's anything like what we saw with the last storm, I agree. I think we'll have a good bit of closures on Tuesday as well. I've got to drive from Sturbridge, Mass at 4:30 tomorrow, headed to Lebanon, expecting a lot of traffic issues. Okay, so you're leaving Sturbridge at 4:30 in the afternoon and headed to Lebanon. So that's what I guess you would take. Would you take 395 all the way down and kind of over there? Trying to think Lebanon. So that's probably what, at least 45 to an hour, maybe, give or take. 5:30. I think you're going to start to run into some of that snow. So I would consider leaving, if you can, a little bit earlier than that as you kind of work your way back down into the state there. All right, let's see. Any other questions here? I believe that this that I'm using is kind of jumbling all these around, so I apologize if it's taking me a while to get to your questions here. Let's see. Stacy says power outages likely. Scattered power outages across the state, but especially for the shore. That's where we can see those very gusty winds there. Sydney and Bristol, same situation for you guys. Gusts 40 to 50, 10 to 20 inches of snow for you guys, and that heavy, wet snow for everyone as well. Derek wants to know what towns have parking bans. I do not know the answer to that question, but if you head to our website, I'm sure we have a list for all the big towns. Check your town's website, I would say, and if you don't see it there, try our website as well. I'm sure we're starting to throw a list together. If you're in a bigger city or town, I'm sure they're getting their list going as well. I want to say Hartford already has one that will go into effect, and I believe New Haven is doing the same as well. Jane was down in New Haven for the 6 o'clock show, and I believe that's what one of the pieces that was in her story. Timothy asked, what are the winds for New Haven for tomorrow night into Monday? Potentially over 50 miles per hour. Again, we're talking about gusts there. Let's see. These are updating a little bit. Good. Getting some more questions. Let's see. Leaving from Stockbridge, Mass at 10 a.m. driving to Stamford. Is you going to hit any dangerous amounts of snow? So 10 a.m. Matt, I'm assuming that's tomorrow. 10 a.m. Sunday through and then driving down. I think you'll be if it is Sunday, I think you'll be fine. If you're driving 10 a.m. Monday, it could still be a little bit difficult out there. I think they're still going to be doing a good bit of cleaning up. Northeast Connecticut, Chaplin. Okay, I know right where you guys are. I would say the bulk of this snow, again, like I've mentioned before, a few little on and off snow showers throughout the day. But I'm leaning more on the bulk of all that snow for you guys as we get closer to about 6 versus folks along the shoreline, maybe closer to 3 or 4. So I think it's a little bit of a delay, Laura, for you guys. But don't worry, it will all fill right in for you guys. Let's see. Not talking about 10 or 18 inches of rain, but just snow. If you were to actually melt down all of the snow that we're expecting, so our forecast is 10 to 20. If you were to melt down all of that snow, that would actually come out to some of the models show anywhere from 1.5 inches to even more than 2 inches of liquid water, and that is a lot of water. To put that in perspective, I want to say that last storm that we got, our liquid water amounts were right around 1 inch or so, maybe a little bit more than that. And we got a good bit of snow out of that. And that was just because our temperatures were so cool. So a little bit more of that snow ratio than anything else there. So for this round, with our temperatures close to freezing, it's a wet snow. It's a heavy wet snow at that too. Snow accumulations for Enfield, very similar, 10 to 20. The biggest question mark with this forecast, guys, and to be totally honest with you guys, is going to be where those snow bands really set up and how they move across the state, because that's where we're expecting, where we're really expecting to see the heaviest of that snow kind of come through. So I hope that answers your question there. Milford, Connecticut, again, guys, very similar. Is there a chance that this can miss or just be rain? So we're not looking like rain. This would have to, take a huge jog to the north for us to be under rain with this. And the rain wouldn't be any fun. But no, I think this is all snow. Again, 10 to 20 inches across the state there. Same thing. I see Lucy here. You're asking for Bristol. Same thing for you guys. Maggie, if people are talking about another storm chance next Friday, Saturday, any info? Not yet, Maggie. Let's get through this storm and then we can focus on maybe something for the end of next week there. Jess wants to know about Waterbury. Waterbury, very similar forecast, 10 to 20 inches. And again, 10 to 20 inches in gusts. Also keep in mind of those gusts, 40, 45, and range in interior Connecticut, 40 to 50, let's just say there. Hello, I have work tomorrow, Sunday in Torrington until 4 p.m. Do you think it's safe to drive? Until 4, I think you'll be okay. You'll start to notice that snow coming down, but the bulk of that snow won't arrive, Lewis, until the heaviest rather, until after 6 or 7 p.m. there. Let's see here. I might have missed when, I don't know if there's this map. Can you zoom in on the Connecticut map? Plan to go to work at that tomorrow. Let's see. well, let me know if I'm going to keep scrolling through these comments. Angela, let me know where you are, and I can try to answer that question for you a little bit there. Ryan, Eastern Connecticut totals. Again, we'll go back to talking about those snow bands that end up forming that can potentially boost us over 20 inches. Now, like I mentioned before, I don't believe that's going to be a widespread issue, but when those bands form, that can have a lot of snow in a very short period of time, and that can lead to just those, quick jumps in snow totals. So it's still going with 10 to 20 inches there for the state. What time will it start in the New Haven area? Great question. So I've mentioned Eastern Connecticut, Northern Connecticut. For the shoreline, this will start a little bit sooner. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see the snow pick up a little bit more, maybe closer to 3 p.m. And if you're in far southwestern Connecticut, maybe Stamford to Bridgeport, maybe even closer to 2:30. You see how the model shows some of that snow forming. Now, it's not the heaviest snow. The bulk of that doesn't arrive until Sunday night. So we will start to see the snow pick up throughout the afternoon on Sunday, but the heaviest snow still Sunday night and into Monday morning. I see some other questions. If I'm thinking if the storm is going to miss, sorry guys, I do not think that this storm is going to miss. Give us your prediction on the USA versus Canada gold medal game. I'm going to leave all hockey predictions to meteorologist Bob Maxson. We know Bob is on it when it comes to the hockey and all on everything that goes with it. So I mean, I'm going to be cheering for USA, of course, but I'm going to say USA wins, but I don't want to say that out loud because, there you go. But I'll leave it to Bob with those sports questions there. Robert asked, chances of getting 2 feet. Connecticut, I think that is still just out of our reach. I think you'll have to go to Eastern Mass, maybe sections of Rhode Island, maybe even the south areas of Long Island, and then down through Jersey. I think we just miss out on that. Will we have some folks that get a little bit more than 20, 21, 22, something like that? Maybe. But as far as 2 feet goes, I think that is still just a little bit of a stretch. But we'll have to keep an eye on those snow bands because that can really, make or break it for some folks there. No more snow. I think a lot of folks will agree with you there on that. Alicia wants to know, what are you thinking for wind? For interior Connecticut, 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts there. I think we could end up seeing winds a little bit stronger for the shore, maybe up to 50 or 55 miles per hour. So whenever you're talking about the snow and the wind, all that kind of getting mixed in together, that's when we start to have some problems, especially when we start talking about that potential for power outages there. So as far as an impact standpoint goes, let me pull this up. So snow removal, that if you don't have a snow blower or like me, a working snow blower, shoveling is going to be a bit of a challenge. So I would say if you're having to shovel the snow, go out there several times. Don't wait until it's all over to shovel it because you're going to be shoveling 10 to 20 inches of heavy stuff. The winds are also going to be another impact. And then the combo of wind and snow, that low visibility. But I also threw on there that potential for power outages. And I think that's a real chance of having scattered outages just because of those winds being that strong there. Let's see any other questions here. So this specific future radar that I'm showing you guys is what we have for our in-house forecast models. But if you download our app, it has a version of that right on there. You just click on the weather tab, jump right over to the radar tab, and then you can go, future radar, past radar, loop the radar, all that kind of stuff. So I would head to our app or the website. You can see that as well. And when you go onto the app, you can customize things. I like moving things around a little bit. You can really mess around with it. Let's see here. Cindy says, how much snow is expected for Derby? Join the broadcast late. Thanks so much. 10 to 20 inches, Sydney, for across the entire state. What we will keep an eye on is, like I've been kind of mentioning throughout the broadcast here, is going to be where those heavy snow bands set up. Heavy snow bands will give us, pockets of higher snow totals there. And if you dodge some of those bands, you'll be on the lower end of that spectrum, closer to 10 inches. But for folks that really just get hit with those, one after the other bands, they could be closer to that 20-inch mark. So that's why there is a bit of a range there, 10 to 20 inches, a 10-inch spread. But just because of how uncertain, you can't throw in a map like that and just start divvying everything up a little bit, because it's confusing, and I don't think it sends the right message there. So we'll keep a close eye on those snow bands, and that's what's going to make or break some of those snow totals there for us. When will this be over? When are we going to be done with this? Gregory wants to know. Monday afternoon, we're going to see those snow showers taper away. Then after dinner time Monday, I think we'll be in much better shape there. Let's see. I believe I've gotten to the end of the questions. The system that I'm using, I think it's kind of like fumbled around all these questions out of order. So if I missed your question, I apologize. You can just shoot me a message on any of my social media platforms. Let's see if I can find some other ones here. Southington, Plainville, what time will it start? So for Southington, probably closer to, picking up a little bit more, probably closer to about 4 o'clock or so. And then just continuing to kind of build in throughout the night. And Norm wants to know how much in Manchester. So still going with 10 to 20 inches there, and we'll keep a close eye. We'll keep a close eye on those heavy snow bands that form. Definitely worth keeping an eye on there. I think I've gotten to everybody's question. We got another one here. Will we see school delays on Tuesday? If we don't have closures on Tuesday, I think we'll likely end up seeing delays for sure. 90-minute or 2-hour delays in the morning, depending on the district, depending on how quick they can get those roads clear. But the good news is that we will end up seeing warmer temperatures by the end of that 10-day forecast. And in fact, even by the middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the end of the week by Friday, all above freezing. Next weekend into the 40s. Let's see. So that is going to be good for us because that will help us with some melting. Let's see. Any other questions? So with this storm, the winds are going to be coming from the northeast. So we have a nor'easter, so winds kind of wrapping around from the northeast there. How high for the snow drifts? That is going to be very dependent on the environment that's around. So, the way that wind kind of interacts with its surroundings, kind of pushing that snow up, but definitely some good drifts for sure. Let's see. Is it because the weight of the snow that we won't see 35, 40 inches? No, this is going to be more based on, the track of the storm itself. So I mentioned how some folks out in Mass, in Jersey, they could see higher snow totals there. And that's just going to be because of the track a little bit. Our temperatures, even if if our temperatures were colder, if they were anything like what we had in January, we could easily get over 2 feet of snow. But because those temperatures are warmer and close to freezing, that kind of drops that snow ratio down a little bit. So that's another reason why we are expecting those totals 10 to 20 inches. Still a good bit of snow, especially when it's a wet, heavy snow. But I've been chatting for just over an hour now, hour 15, and I still got 400 of you guys on here and watching. So I appreciate it. It is 9:45. I got to start getting ready for the 11 p.m. show, and gotta grab some food too. Gotta get some food. But we will have more updates coming up tonight at 11 o'clock, and then of course Alexis will have more updates starting tomorrow morning as well. Thank you guys so much for all of the questions here. Really appreciate it. And for tomorrow and going through Monday, we'd love to see all of the photos, video, photos, all that kind of stuff of the snow that's coming down. Let us know what you guys are seeing. And also feel free to send us any snow reports that you guys can see. Remember, to get an accurate snowfall report, you want to measure at least 2 or 3 areas in your yard, preferably away from a building, and that's how you can get an accurate measurement. Don't measure, by the trees or by your house. Try to be in a more open space and measure a couple of times. And that's the more accurate way to get a good snowfall report. Send it over to us, and send it over with a picture too. We'd love to see them. And that would be, and it is, and I don't say that just to, send us in your pictures, but it is a really big help to kind of see what you guys are seeing. So we really appreciate all of those photos, the videos that you guys send in. We love seeing the pups. We love seeing the kids outside kind of enjoying the day. But let us know what you guys are seeing starting tomorrow as that snow begins. Again, timing real quick as I wrap this up. Moderate snow begins. We start to see that more widespread snow after dinner time Sunday. Ramps up throughout Sunday night. Very heavy snow early Monday morning. Very gusty winds. That potential for some scattered power outages. And then we start to wrap this all up by Monday afternoon. That is going to do it for me here on Facebook Live. Again, guys, thanks so much for all of your questions. If I missed your question, if it went all out of order on me, feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm on all the social platforms, so that's where you can find me. But I'll see you guys tonight at 11. We'll have another update on that storm tracker forecast. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a great night.